stem stitch. This is one of my favorites. One thing to keep in mind before we get started, I'm going to talk about the working line here, and I'm always going to be working the same direction. In my case, I'm going to work left to right. In your case, if you're left-handed, you might want to work right to left. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to start at the end over here on the left, come all the way till my knot hits the back of my fabric. I'm going to leave a loop underneath my working line. I'm going forward 1 stitch length. Now this first stitch is a little different, and it's the only one that does this anytime you're starting a new spot. I am going to come up halfway in between my 2 threads there. Notice my needle and my thread are above my loop, and as I pull tight, my loop is going to hug the line and my working thread is going to be coming out on top. So I'm going to pull it back down, hold the loop, go 1 stitch length forward. Now this time, instead of splitting that space, I'm going to come up exactly where my previous stitch ended. Pull until that loop hugs the line. 1 stitch length forward. Come up right where the other stitch ended. So on that first stitch, we have to split it in half because we don't have a previous stitch. But every other time, we're coming up right where we ended. Notice I'm holding my loop down every time just to help keep everything out of my way. Otherwise it'll start to twist on me and stuff, and then I will get annoyed. This stitch is very forgiving. If you were having problems with backstitch, having your stitch lengths stay consistent, you won't be able to tell as much on stem stitch. Anything you would use backstitch for, you can pretty much use stem stitch instead if you like it better. I'm trying not to pull too tight because I don't want to distort my fabric, but I am trying to get everything nice and snug to that line. I'm going to take 1 more full stitch. So I'm coming into the end of my line here. So to end this, I'm going to take just the teeny tiniest stitch forward. So you can see I don't really have much gap there. And then when I pull it through, it'll be nice and tight at the end. So you can see how this stitch kind of looks like a rope coiling around, and it all goes in the same direction because I was keeping my loop at the bottom of my line. Another thing to note is that sometimes your threads won't pull through evenly, like so. That's fine. Just move on. A couple of things to keep in mind as you work stem stitch is when you go through curves, especially these smaller curves, make your stitches shorter, smaller, and it will help the stem stitch to hug your line a little bit better. So if I take too big of stitches, it'll look a little strange there. Secondly, anytime that you are crossing back over where you have already gone, so right there on the L, you just ignore it. You just keep doing your stitch as you would and keep wrapping around. So this is where you can tell, as long as I'm working left to right, turning my work left to right, my rope will keep twirling in the same direction.